Hi, I'm Vijaya Lakshmi, also known as Viji, from the Millennium Batch of XLRI, Jamshedpur. And I did my PM&IR, but life has taken me on a trajectory way beyond HR. And in the last 10 years, I have devoted and dedicated myself to professional coaching. And I run a full-time coaching practice whose motto is play at full potential. The one thing that I think I learned through life and through work is that leadership is never linear. And I think that's what makes it so rich and, so real. It's never a straight path, but I think real leadership is all about how easily you pick yourself up and how easily you adapt, and the mindset with which you, I think, take on from one role to the other role, and absolutely transferable in that sense. So it doesn't matter what you studied, but it's all about how much you're willing to learn and unlearn along the course of life. Really, the one professional milestone that really, makes me feel good and makes me feel a larger sense of my impact with my work is, I being from the XL Alumni, I'm a dual qualified master certified coach. And, and this has been an amazing journey for me to really discover myself and also to build my depth and my impact as a coach. But it also makes me quite proud that, a journey on coaching, which I did not even realize. Maybe the seeds of that was sown way back in my XLRI days. So I think life comes full circle, and that's something that I am, quite proud of. Just know that nothing is permanent, and the world is changing at a pace that we barely can recognize. I think the ones who will, ultimately be ahead of the curve are the people who are really willing to adapt and have that flexibility, not just with your work, but also with the way you, I think, approach life. You do your pivots, the way you're also able to add breadth of experience to yourself. And I don't necessarily mean just industry experience, but you could be a writer, you could do something else, you could come back to the corporate space. I think all of these experiences all matter in today's landscape. At the peak of my career, I actually opted out and took some time for myself. I did a sabbatical, which in a very narrow lens perhaps was not the right thing to do. But I think in the long run, that reset, that time out, and I think just stepping off that treadmill only to find yourself back stronger and, better. And I think every time I took that time off, it allowed me to pivot beautifully. And, in fact, my journey into professional coaching for the last decade or so really was triggered by one of, those timeouts, so to say. All leaders really also need to learn to reset and recharge because we are all leading not through marathons, but through many, many sprints that are adding on. So if you don't reset, you don't learn to rest, it's going to become very hard. So unconventional wisdom, I won't call it a failure, but I think totally worked for me, and I think works for a whole lot of the leaders I'm very fortunate to coach. I would just say trust your core, trust your values, because these are things that never sort of diminish after a break. You just come back stronger. It's not going anywhere. All of us have beautiful gifts that we have, and unfortunately we take most of our lifetime to recognize it. So find your gifts, understand who you are, understand your strength. Even the best athletes always have time off court, and I think there is a reason for that. And all of us are corporate athletes in some sense. So just trust yourself and do it. You will absolutely, and if not that particular path, something else will open and you will find a different interest. But you will certainly survive and thrive. To me, I think impactful leadership is all about sustainable leadership. is about, I think, creating a system, creating an ecosystem which becomes quite self-sustaining. And I think that's real leadership impact. It's not about saying that people are not important. Absolutely, in today's, AI-driven age, people are very important. But I think if leadership is not sustainable, and every leader coming in is not able to create the next 3 generations of leaders, then I think it's not real impact.